Hello and welcome to Life is Feudal, Forest Village. Well, we're into the spring of a new year and I want to start making more progress with the actual bakeries. I've been looking at this original plan where the idea was I was going to have a section for each individual type of pie. Each one was going to have its own resources. Everything that they needed would be in that one little section, so that they were all self-contained and self-reliant. But the trouble is I'm finding that we're just producing too much grain and too much flour as a result. It just doesn't make sense to have, you know, each section having its own windmill and its own grain farm. It's just too much basically. Because I mean let's say for instance we have vegetable pies over here, meat pies over here. We've got caps on the amount of grain that we can make, how much flour we can make. So let's say for instance we do, you know, run up against that cap, and the people over here, they've run out of flour. Well, if there's plenty of flour over here, they're going to have to go all the way over to here, which is a bit inefficient. So I had another think, and then I thought, well, maybe we should then just centralize the actual flour. So we make all the flour in the center area. We bring the bakeries right up to the edge of the roadside, and they've got access to the barns where the flour gets deposited. Now the only thing is, these bakeries, specifically the vegetable ones, they're the only ones who need their extra resources. It wasn't working, you know, having a lot of chicken coops down here. So we do still need like a small number of chicken coops over here to provide the eggs, which means we still need some oats getting produced. We're not producing enough vegetables to export up to here, but everything else we can just export it out of that main agricultural area. So, you know, milk and fruit, meat and fish, all of that can be exported here, which means for everybody else we just need the actual bakeries. So I'm going to have a bit of a think as to how I lay this out, but I think I can still go with a sort of like a centralized design for the actual the windmills, so that, you know, if we do rub up against that cap, it's not that big of a deal because everybody's got access to the same storage area for flour. It's just a case of thinking of how I place the barns, because I say that's just all we're going to have is just not the barns, the actual bakeries, sorry. I'm going to place those close to the roads, but it's just the vegetable bakeries that need these extra resources. Everybody else is, yeah, it's just bakeries. But one other thing I do need to do, I need to get the barns up here built. We need to get some terraforming done over here. We need some roads built. And then I've got to start thinking about moving these people as well, because this was all temporary. The idea was these would, this area here would be for barns and for stables. Now, we would be basically bringing all the surplus food from, you know, made here up to here. Any surplus, you know, food from here would be brought down to here, and then we'd have caravans exchanging backwards and forwards to make sure everybody's got access to all the different types of food. So there's still quite a bit of work I need to do first. While I'm doing that, I'm just going to keep scratching my head thinking of how I'm going to actually do the layout now for the rest of these bakeries. So I'll get started with that portion first. And I'll bring you back. Well, we're well into the summer, and we haven't actually getting that much done, to be honest. I mean, they've done a bit of stone roads along here and a bit of a section up here. They did quite a bit of terraforming over here, and then we did this section up here, which is out into the ocean. I think this area took probably the longest because there was a lot of trees to fell, logs to haul back, stone iron and so on. So that did take a while. And they had to then haul a lot of stone to these, you know, to these areas to make the roads, and then had to build the roads. So yeah, it did take quite a lot longer than I was anticipating. And because we're so far into the summer, I've then put a lot of people into the actual fields as well, specifically the actual vegetable fields, so that we can make sure we get enough potatoes during the harvest. So yeah, there's 8 people in each field. It takes us up from 48 farmers to 68, so I don't have as many people as just labourers, so it'll probably take them a while to get these roads done. Now, until we get that section done, I can't finish off the foundations, but I've put enough in for the actual barns on over here so far. Then now I'm just kind of like scratching my head as to where to go from here, because I need to build an area for the actual windmills. So I put those two down there, thinking, well, I mean, that one field, it's only a little 10 by 10 field, and it's produced tons and tons of grain, way more than the actual flour well, the actual miller, I should say, is keeping up with. So I've only got like a little field here, 2 mills, because we're going to end up with 8 bakeries, but then it kind of looks a bit messy, because if I build 4 bakeries up here, 4 of them up here, I mean, that's quite a distance to go to get the flour. I mean, I could haul it. I could literally just say, right, well, I'll put some barns in the middle. We'll then haul the flour from here to the barns up here, and then it keeps it all nicely centralized. Then they just don't have as far to go. So yeah, I'm quite tempted to do that, to be honest. I mean, I need some housing down here for these people who work here anyway, so that'll fill that gap. And then once this is cleared off, I could just basically put the weavers and their houses. I don't know why, but for some reason it's not letting me build anything in that little section there. If I tried to build a stable, it just wouldn't let me. Ah, because we're overlapping with a funeral pyre, that's why. Okay, well, I'll have to wait until that area's cleared and then we'll do that. But that could be an idea, so I'll pause this lot off anyway. While I scratch my head and have a think about how we do this. Because they're going to be basically busy building all of these roads anyway. But I could do that. I could have a storage area down here that we haul all of like the meat, the fruit and so on. The vegetable. If we put the vegetable pie bakers up here, they've got a big area back there behind them where we can then put the chickens and the vegetables and so on. So that's a possibility, but I'll have to think about the houses for these people. I mean, I suppose I could run them down this side, because otherwise this is just going to be a big gap as well. So I could leave them their housing in the middle here, have the some like a couple of taverns maybe. I'm just gonna have to like work out roughly how many like houses I'm gonna need in total, because you're talking about, I think was it one person or 2? Yeah, 2 per bakery, so that's 16. So that's 2 houses alone just for those people working in the bakeries. I'll have to think about it. Well, we're into the spring of a new year. We've got some of the buildings around here now built, so we've got a barn, a field, and a windmill. I've got them working on the rest down here. I do want them to get this one of these barns at least up and running as soon as possible, because we've got to basically import and export the resources between these 2 big areas. But I had quite a bit of a think about the design. I mean, we're actually on to design version 3 now. I mean, I started off with like a 2 barn design strategy, 4 bakeries to 1 barn. But then the problem with that is, yeah, you need extra caravan routes. I'd have to import the flour to like 2 separate barns. So I then went with just a 1 barn strategy. All of the actual bakeries surround that 1 individual barn. We'll import the flour and whatever other resources we need into that 1 barn, so everything's nicely contained there. Down the bottom here is where we've got the accommodations for the people. Off to the right, to the left here, I've got a tavern for them, and I've expanded a bit further over here because obviously I need the fields for the tavern. It's its own barn to be able to store things. I've put a healer shop in, because the one down here doesn't stretch quite far enough, I think. We've got a house down here, because as well as the actual tavern and the healer shop, we need room for these people who are going to be working in the caravan stables as well. So yeah, I think that seems okay. I mean, we've got like capacity of about 24 here, but I still want the extra house here. in case we do need to expand even further, you know, more windmills, more fields and so on. But yeah, I've gone from like that two barn strategy to one, and then I kind of like turned it around, because originally that was facing, it's like those houses were down there and everything was pointing in that direction. The trouble was then I was kind of like bumping over to the side here, getting beyond the size of the side where these walls are. So by turning it around, I've been able to sort of keep everything nicely lined up. Now, having said that, I am just wondering, am I going to be able to fit another tavern in there now? Because that's right on the limit, isn't it? Ooh. Yeah, I'm still pushing it out, because I mean, I've got one tavern there, but I want another one, because I already know that these people were running out of beer at some point. So I don't know if that one tavern's going to be enough. I might actually end up just centralizing. It might be better if I just build 2 taverns up here for both of them, you know, because over here this lot's going to get destroyed. I'll put the weavers over here, so I might rethink the tavern design. I might put 2 taverns down here, one down here, one down here, then have the fields and the barn up here. Then we have the weavers possibly up here or something. I'll have to have a bit of a think about it. It just depends. I've just got to be able to meet the capacity, but at this stage I don't know what it is. All I know is that like these areas, I mean, I must admit there's a heck of a lot of people working in these areas, but sometimes what they do is they'll go off to this tavern because there's not enough beer getting made. But to be fair, there's a heck of a lot of people working in these areas compared to here. So yeah, I'll play it out with the one tavern. If it's not big enough, I'll probably tear it down and then rebuild it again. So yes, quite a lot to actually build. One thing I did notice, mind, was we got into the winter, we got to about 10,000 vegetables. Now we're into the spring, we're down to about 3,000. So that's like 7,000 vegetables consumed just over the winter alone, which seems kind of odd, really, because the fruit, still got quite a lot of fruit. We've actually got more meat, but for whatever reason, that everybody decided to pile into vegetables instead. I mean, vegetables are 7, 8, 6. I mean, I know that they'd go and get those different types of food for the different types of vitamins, but it just seems odd that everybody's just piling into to potatoes for some strange reason. But anyway, I need to get on with the building for this because it's going to take a heck of a long time. We're going to need a lot of resources. I've had to rebuild a stone quarry. There was one down here. I've had to completely tear that down because they ran out of stone. We've got a new one being built, but every so often I have to keep buying stone because there's just so many resources needed for this area. I've got to be really careful with the hay because we're down to only 2,500 hay in this area. So I've brought one of the fields back on stream, and I'm going to have to start buying hay by the looks of it, or I'm going to have to find out where the rest of that hay is. It's probably, most of that's probably come from Village 1 somewhere. The $64 million question is, where the heck is it? At this stage, I have no idea. It's out there somewhere, I just don't know. So I think it'll probably make more sense to go and look for where that hay has ended up. But anyway, I'm going to get on building all this lot out, so that then we can start moving all of these people across to here. That's going to take a while. Well, we're starting to make some progress over here now. Quite a lot of the main buildings are now built. So I've got a house over here it's actually been built, it's been upgraded, same over here. So basically that's like enough capacity over here so that I can actually start doing the vegetable pie bakers. We've got the storage over there ready to go. We've actually got the windmills ready to go, the field, their storage as well. I've even got the actual caravan stable over here. Now, one thing I am in the middle of doing at the moment is trying to get this healer shop up pretty quickly, to be honest, because the trouble is, if anybody over here you know, gets like the plague or gets rabies, yeah, it'll spread pretty quickly. So it's a case I want to be able to make sure I can deal with that before I actually start bringing people over here. But we're almost ready to start getting people out of here and putting them over here, but I'm going to have to do quite a bit of terraforming first. Now, we're so far through the fall and we've almost got these fields emptied. Last season I managed to get them to do these fields pretty quickly with 7 people. I was a bit late this year, and so I've put 8 people in, but I hit this peak of about 10,000 vegetables. I mean, meat's just going up and up and up, which is great. Fruit, yep, that's starting to go up, because I think at some point that was at about 16,000. Now it's up to 17. That was at some point that was about 8,000. Now we're up to 19,000. Yet we just still have this this issue with vegetables for whatever reason. I'm not 100% certain why, because it just seems odd that, you know, we can get 10,000 vegetables by the time we get to winter, and then all of a sudden it drops to about 1,200 by the time we're into the summer. For whatever reason, people seem to have a real preference for potatoes over anything else. But I mean, it kind of like makes me wonder if I should start building like another field up here. Maybe turn that field there into a potato field. I mean, we've got tons of oats at the minute. I'm only running 2 oat fields here. They're starting to harvest it. Well, actually, they have actually harvested those. So quite a lot of these oats, I know we had a big surplus at one point, so I'm always reluctant to suddenly cut the number of farmers doing the oats at this stage. I'd rather keep that surplus and then just suddenly turn around and realise, oh, I'm going to admit we don't have 19,000 oats, we actually only have 10,000. I'd rather notice that than suddenly run out of oats and have to keep buying stuff. And speaking of buying stuff, I'm having to buy lots and lots of stone, lots and lots of logs to keep up with this process. There's tons of resources have been needed to build all these. I mean, the houses, you need about 360 to build like just the first part of the house, and then upgrade it needs even more. We need 450 wood to be able to build the healer shop. So yeah, we're just ploughing through lots of logs. Stone, we're not keeping up, just not producing enough stone to meet the demand, but we're producing that much milk that I don't mind. We were, well, 8,500 still spare capacity, so yeah, got plenty of that. I can just keep selling that off on the market for probably quite a while at this rate. But I'd say that this whole like agricultural area is starting to really take off now, so I'm really pleased with that. The only issue is we're not doing as well as I'd hoped yet for the barn, because there's a barn down there where we're exchanging food. I mean, that's not a great amount of food. It's mostly the vegetables. I need to figure out why we don't have enough fruit. Might be that maybe I need to raise the cap, because we're bringing in a 500. So tell you what, let me raise that to 1,000. So that way we'd have about 2,000 fruit in there. One of these barns, probably one of these stables, I think it's this one, does the balancing. Yeah, so they're the ones balancing the food between here and here. So once that's a thought. Yeah, looks like they're just too busy. Because you look at the balancing that's going on, there's just so many discrepancies where there's just so many things that just don't line up. I'm just gonna have to put more people into that. Basically, we just need more caravanners. They're just so busy, they just can't cope with the demand. Speaking of demand, they've run out of grain by the looks of it. But well, we could do that. Let's put someone into that field for next time, so that keeps them going. How are we doing over on this side? Yep, same over here, so we're going to have to reintroduce this again. So that takes us to 73 farmers. So there's a tavern over here. This is the trouble with things getting out of sync. Yep, so we're going to have to get them back into the game as well. Every so often we just hit these caps and I just pause people to partly to sort of like deal with the demand, or rather like the oversupply. But then I just have to keep checking every now and again that I forget that, oh yeah, things aren't working anymore. And it's because I turn things off. Now then, I think that's them done. I don't know of any other taverns, because that one there hasn't been built yet. But there'll be all sorts of little places that I've turned them off because we were just producing so much more things than we needed, which is the reason I want to do something like this, you see, where all of the flour is now going to get stored here. That's the only place where we'll be making flour. So if we do run out of, if we do hit that cap on flour, it doesn't matter. It's all going to be where it needs to be anyway. I can actually, while these are just sitting around doing nothing, I can actually get them to do what they were going to do. So I'd rather balance it out. Although I haven't said that, no. I don't want to go too far, so I'd rather that barn gets too full. So if we have, say, like 500 flour gets dumped up there, that's fine. If we start producing too much grain, I can just always pause the field there. But then you get to the situations like now where we've just got fields that have been paused off, the grain's somewhere else, and I've got to, compensate for that, because most of the grain's stored in that one barn at the minute. Yeah. But anyway, so let's see. So where we need to go from here. So we need to get the healer shop up and running. Once we've got that, I'll then focus on the house. I mean, I don't have enough logs yet. I've bought a lot of logs, but just having a look to see. You're the one who's transporting them. So this one's transported all the logs out of the market, so we just need for all those to filter through up to here, and then people can start putting them into the building site. But I'm going to have to do a lot of terraforming up here because I need to get the fields and the chicken coops ready for these vegetable pie bakers. We're into the fall, so they're probably going to struggle a bit. I can get the terraforming done before then, but it'll be next year by the time we get round to building things like the chicken coops, the fields and so on. Because I really want them to get these little areas here finished off first. So yeah, I'll get all that lot done and then I'll bring you back. Well, we're into the spring of a new year, and I want to actually start moving the actual vegetable pie bakers, because we've got this area all ready to go. We've got a field up here that can take 4 people. Chicken coop, that can take up to 75 chickens. Versus the 36 that each of these two can do. Now, I didn't actually do any oat fields because this is a fairly small oat field, and there was a big surplus here. So what I've done is I've got the both caravan stables up and running now, and I've got them set to basically haul any oats out of this barn here, all the way up to this one here. But I've set a cap at about 1,000 for now, just to see how many we actually need. I've also got this caravan here. They're hauling flour out of here up to here. I've set a cap of 500 for now. The reason we've got a lot of flour there is because I've actually got somebody hauling flour already in there, because we have quite a big surplus of flour that came over from Village 1, and I really want to clear that all out. There's 3,000 flour lying around somewhere. 796 is down here. So there's some more somewhere. I probably have to find where it is. But the routes are pretty much in place now. I'm not in a position where I've actually set up food as such, except there's a bit going on at the moment where they're getting. Basically, this caravan here is hauling any food it can find from here into this barn, and then what it's doing is it's leaving. Well, the ratio it's about 10 to 1, so we'll have to see how that goes. The clothes I'm just leaving down here. Tools do get hauled up here, I think. So I think we should be pretty much okay to go. We'll just have to see how it plays out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause these two off. And then we'll open these two up. So that's about 4 people we need in that house. I'm gonna get all of the chickens. Well, I'm gonna have to unpause the chicken coop. That's crazy amount. It's because of the mod that we're running. I'm gonna get all of the chickens to relocate. I want you all to come up here. I'll do the same with these ones. So they'll have fun. They'll all slowly start walking up there. Now I'm gonna leave the actual. Actually, I've got that set to 4. It's probably just 2. I'm going to increase the number of herdsmen temporarily because just crank that up to 6. Because basically, I need these people to clear these coops out. They'll take all of the meat out, all of the eggs out. They'll take all of the oats out, as far as I recall. What they won't do is take the actual water. And then once that's all cleared out, I'll then start deconstruction there. So we pause off those 2 fields there. We'll unpause that one. So I need another 4 people up here. We'll pause that one off, and I don't need them anymore, in theory. So that leaves the miller's already paused off. The field's already paused off, so that's pretty much it. So what I can do then, so there's 10 people living there, so I'll set it at 12 just to give me a bit of wiggle room. So that's basically 10 people have moved out of here, so we can effectively pause that one off. I'm not sure what these must be doing then, so for some reason we've got the tailors down there actually living up here, which is a bit unusual. Yeah, so I can understand the herdsmen will want to stay here. So that's 2 herdsmen, so we've got a healer now. Right, okay, so that's unusual because I opened up this house specifically for the healer and the caravanners. And yet we've got the healer isn't living here, we've got a farmer, so where's that farmer from? Why are you living up here? Now it's possible. I've been increasing the number of caravans because I'm having to compensate because I'm doing all this sharing. I'm adding in so many like trade routes. I could have offset some of the actual capacity that we've got. Now that's interesting because we're running at full capacity, so there shouldn't be that many people, so I'm going to have to look into that. But the plan now is I'm going to then start, anything that's in that barn there. So that'll be things like the grain and the flour. I may as well get these people to haul that all the way over to here. Because it's that's where it would normally end up anyway. So then we've got a lot of oats in there. Vegetables, the vegetables they'll get consumed anyway, and there's not that much, so, to be honest, so they won't last long. So I may as well, while we're at it, I may as well get these oats hauled out as well. We'll put them in there because that's where they need to be. So that's going to take a while to move everything, but everybody will move around, all the chickens will move around, and then we'll start to see how things balance out. So they're running at 12, so yeah, I gave them a bit of wiggle room. 1, 2, 3, so I give them a bit of wiggle room as well. So that's, yeah, I'll have to see how all these people maneuver, because it's, as I say, I think it might be people aren't where they should be because of just the fact I've been tweaking the number of caravanners, because like this one here, yeah, we're now running like 3 in some of these caravans just because I'm having to balance things out. But some routes are only temporary. Just having a look, so like hauling the flour, for instance, I don't have to do that all the time. Once that's done, we'll clear that out. The wool's actually finished, so that's one less task they've got to do. So I think what we'll do is I'm just going to play this out a bit, wait for all this lot to clear out, then we'll start the decommissioning process. So I'll get on with that, and then once we're ready to start, I'll bring you back. Well, it didn't take that long. These chicken coops have now been cleared out. I mean, as I say, they just leave the water behind. Everything else gets cleared. I'm just waiting for the rest of the oats. I actually ended up swapping it over. I've got this this caravan to haul the oats out of that barn because there's only one caravan here, and they've already got a lot to do as it is. So I think I'll start off. I'm just going to double check. I think, yeah, the chickens are they're still busy making their way over to the coop. They got attacked a few times actually by some wolves. Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on. I see you, Mr. Fox. You're not going to get my chickens. Alright, that's rid of that thing. So, we can start deconstructing these places now, which is good. So that's 2 less herdsmen that we need. Well, that's odd. Why did that only go down by 1? Ah, I mustn't have clicked that one. Yeah, that makes more sense. Right, so we've got rid of that. We'll get rid of this house as well. I mean, why not? There's not much in that barn. In fact, there's absolutely nothing. So we'll take that barn away. We'll take the bakery away as well. I'll have to unpause these though to get them deconstructed. Shouldn't take too long because I mean, oh wow, 63 people. Again, it's just because of the mod. It allows you to assign like tons and tons of people, way more than you normally would. So we'll take that field away. We'll take away the windmill and we'll unpause them. Just crank that up. We'll put about 15 people into the building trade to speed things up. Now, that barn there and that barn there, I can't touch those barns at the moment. Which one? That's that one. I can't touch those. I can't put in well, I don't want to put in a deconstruct order on those 2 yet until we've hauled everything out. And I've also got to be careful because while I've got little caravan routes in place, the game will actually crash if I don't delete those routes by the time these barns get deconstructed. So let's see. So it's mostly builders. Now, I did actually build a herbalist up here. That was specifically because of the fact we've got a healer shop and there's no herbs around. So I've built a herbalist up there. So they're probably the only person that's still around. They should have come over to here, but for whatever reason, why on earth have I got a teacher up here as well? I mean, it should clear up a bit once we get all this lot moved out anyway. There's like 3 tailors plus 4 farmers. They'll all get moved up to here. And they'll get their own like dedicated houses, so it should free up some of the capacity down here anyway. Down here, it's just builders. So I may as well just leave those there because it makes it a bit easier. Because the trouble is when you build something in an area, or if you deconstruct something, the builders move in and they kick people out of the houses because they'll actually move in where they're going to. I mean, I don't know if it's some sort of like priority they get or something, but yeah, it can be quite disruptive, I find. So I'm just going to leave these to get deconstructing things. Once they've made some decent progress, I'll bring you back. Well, this area is pretty much cleared now. I'm just going to make sure that there's no more roots, because I ended up getting these 2 to share the load. They both started clearing out the flour and the grain, so that should all be dumped over here now, which is ideal really. I mean, we've got tons of flour still there. Now they're going to then transport a lot of that up to here. We're going to leave about a surplus, not there, up to here. So as long as there's 500 flour in there, that's enough as far as like the caravan is concerned, and I think that should be okay. 208, we've got about 1500 oats. So I'm going to start deconstructing what's left of this area. So we're going to take a bit of a hit on the population. It's going to drop, the capacity we've got is going to drop from down to 292 from 302, which is fine because we had plenty of like excess there anyway. I mean, I know they're complaining, at least one of them's complaining they've got nowhere to live at the moment, but I'm sure they'll find something. There's more housing than there is people. But what I'm doing is also I've got them building the house over here, because that's what we want to then start doing, is to start expanding further over here, where we then start doing the meat pies, the fish pies, and the fruit pies as well. But that needs a lot of like work to export things out. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to wait till all this area's been cleared. We'll get rid of the roads, and then we can start the next process, which is to start transferring all of these tailors, and so that they can go and work over here. Because at the moment I'm just using the wool that's been left over from Village 1. That was the only place where we actually had any sheep. So it's a case of we're going to have a sheep, at least one sheep farm over there. I think that's all I had in Village 1, and we ended up with like way more wool coming from those sheep than we needed. So I'm going to have to try and balance that out a bit. I mean, we had four. We had four. What are these, seamstresses or weavers? Yeah, weavers workshops. We had 4 of those. So yeah, we've got 3 at the minute. So I'll probably put about 4 of them over here. Give them their own flax fields. The hide. It's quite a bit of hide, I must admit, but I'm gonna have to find a way of getting a lot of hide to them, and that's something I need to think about. How do we generate lots of hide? I mean, what I found is, like, if you just leave areas alone, you know, at the moment this whole place has been just ripped to bits. All the trees have been torn down, just so we could get wood to start building, you know, things like this house. But if you leave the area alone, then you know, you do see quite a lot of animals. You know, they'll respawn pretty quickly. Because I was getting like quite frequent attacks from foxes and wolves, and there was plenty of you know, deer, moose, elk, whatever it was that was out here. So I mean, it's a case of, well, it's the hide we actually get will be coming from the bears, the foxes, and the wolves. So it's a case of, oh no, they nearly caught me out there. Yeah, we're not so lucky there, game. So the plan is, I think I might have just one big area, just left to nature, if you will, and get the hide that way. I mean, I can introduce a mod where we start producing hide from the cows. That's another option. But I mean, I could always try that and just have this big, like, untouched area. I mean, I could actually, you know, go in there myself and just hunt the different types of animals that we want. Or I might be able to set up a couple of hunters. I mean, I'm just curious how these lot do. Yeah, I'm not really seeing any hide over here. There's about 330 hide there, because I mean, I've got hunters out here. I've got some down here. Yeah, that's a thought. Is there any hide? Yeah, I think I haul the hide out of there up to here anyway. Yeah, they bring all the hide back from that barn, and they dump it over to here. So there is a few hunters scattered around. I know that I've actually got one of them over here now, because it was probably a bad place to put this donkey farm, because every so often I get attacks by wolves. I really need to put it behind some walls, so I might end up putting this donkey farm over here somewhere, maybe, because we're going to have a big massive area here. When you look at like the size that was done over here, there's going to be not a great deal going to get used up by the you know, the actual weavers workshops, the sheep farms and so on. So I might actually just move it over there. So yeah, there's that one there, but I deliberately built another one somewhere around here, right there, just to keep an eye on things. Not a great deal of hide. It's 148 where the weavers are. I think I do export that out. I've got somebody who literally hauls that out. Yeah, they always haul any hide they find in there. They'll haul it up to where the weavers are. But yeah, I think that's all something to start thinking about for the next episode. So that's it for this one. I do hope you've enjoyed watching it. If so, then do please leave a like, because that'll help me out a great deal. If you're new to the channel and you'd like to see more content like this, then yes, do please subscribe. Just remember to click the little bell icon though, because then you get notifications when new content comes out. If you've got any comments, any suggestions, if you want to leave any feedback at all, please post that in the comments section below. Till the next episode, thanks very much for watching. Bye!